Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Katie Monahan, and I'm a communications strategist here at the Ohio Arts Council, and I'm pleased to welcome you to today's webinar, How to Prepare an Exemplary Application for the Ohio Teaching Artist Roster. We're excited to have Emma Parker from the Center for Arts-Inspired Learning here today to help us navigate the application. But before we get to Emma and all of the wonderful information she has to share, I'd like to first bring in OAC Arts Learning Coordinator Jared Small to provide a bit of background information about the Ohio Teaching Artist Roster. So Jared, take it away.
Thanks, Katie. Hey everyone, my name is Jared Small. As Katie mentioned, I'm one of two Arts Learning Coordinators at the Ohio Arts Council. Just some really quick background information on the Ohio Teaching Artist Roster. The roster itself represents Ohio artists who demonstrate artistic excellence, the ability to integrate academic content, effective classroom management, and student engagement, and strong communication with arts and cultural partners. Teaching artists on this roster are vetted by an application and observation process and are required to participate in ongoing professional development. And you might see on your screen there that the Ohio Teaching Artist Roster is indeed a partnership amongst 5 state of Ohio arts organizations, and they include the Ohio Arts Council, the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education, Ohio Dance, the Center for Arts-Inspired Learning, and Art Possible Ohio. You'll see all those partner logos on the left side of your screen there. And these partner organizations, they share administrative responsibilities of the roster, and they together, they manage the professional development offered to the artists on there. And so with that background information, we're excited today to offer this webinar to folks interested in applying to the Ohio Teaching Artist Roster. We've tapped some pretty wonderful talent to do so in Emma Parker. Emma is the Artistic Director at the Center for Arts-Inspired Learning based in Cleveland. And Emma is a nationally credentialed teaching artist through young audiences. A little known fact about Emma, at least to me, she is in fact Emmy nominated for her choreography work on a documentary series on the Indiana School for the Deaf. So quite the credentials we have today. We're excited to have Emma. She has her master's in special education from Ball State University. And with that, Emma, we will take it over to you.
All right, thank you for your introductions, Katie and Jared. We're going to jump right in today, and I'm going to take you guys through this pathway that you see on your screen of working through the application process, both on the logistical side and then giving some tips and techniques to make the best possible application that you can for yourself. We're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is access the website, and I'm going to be joggling back and forth between the actual website and this particular presentation. So in order to access the website, you're going to see on the screen a link to embed into your Google search bar. When you pull that up, you're going to see the page I'm going to connect to next, and the page will look like this. It will say, "Welcome to the Ohio Teaching Artist Roster." On this page, you will find information about what the resource is, what is a teaching artist, how can individuals use this roster? If you're a teaching artist, why should you join? How to join, and how does this address equity, inclusion, and accessibility? And today we're going to look at this drop-down menu for how can I join this roster. And we're going to use the previous application form, which should match the upcoming application form. Today, when you click on this, it's going to take you to this page. And what you will see on here is how to apply. Through the application, there are some drop-down menus about more information about program formats, eligibility, the timeline for this application, learning standards, what is arts integration, and then again, an equity and inclusion for accessibility. Once you read through those, you're going to want to scroll down, and that's where you will start to see the application form. So the first thing you're going to want to do is insert your personal information, name, your contact name if it's different, preferred pronouns, your address, and you want to go with the most current address so that when you receive contact, it is at the most current information provided, your email, if you are connected to any organization currently, your website, any social media links that you have, as well as your artistic discipline. And if that is more than one, you can check more than one of these. And or if you have other, you can also fill that out here. If you have any specialties within your discipline, my background is in dance, so I might put that I have a dance background or a specialty in ballet or modern. If you're visual arts, you can detail out what type of visual artist you may be. And then next, you're going to look at the groups and venues with which you have specialization or experience working with. So this is where you're going to start the application process for the background information and your personal contact information. So I'm going to toggle back over and go back into presentation mode. So this is the personal information that I just went through. Next, we're going to look at background information. So this will be the information that you provide so that we get a good understanding of who you are as an artist. This is a chance for you to really voice your experience, philosophies, and background as an artist. So the first thing that you're going to see in this background are some questions. And I'm going to toggle back over. In your application, these questions are going to look like a text box that you're going to want to fill in. What I suggest, and I have given an example, is that you take a Word document and you copy and paste all of the questions, and you'll see them in bold here, into a Word document. This is a great way for you to save your work throughout the process. I like to revisit my work and review it multiple times before putting it into the application form itself. It also is a safety net in case the site crashes, or a way for you to kind of keep your work all in one place. And so the first questions this application is going to ask you is describing your work as a teaching artist, what drew you to teaching, and your envision of it in the educational sector. And this is an example of a past applicant, and they really give us a good understanding of their philosophy, their artistic philosophy, and the impact of the teaching artistry on their life and the education sector setting as a whole. So you really want to use this time to voice why you do this work, what drew you to this work, and how you envision this work impacting others throughout what you're doing. So again, this is the example of how you can take any question from the online portal, put it into a Word doc, and then make sure you save that somewhere in a safe place, maybe in multiple places as well. So I'm going to go back to our presentation. So after you fill out these first two questions, and again, this is where you voice your background and knowledge and philosophy, we're going to go on next to listening examples of your professional artistry. Some opportunities to do this are exhibitions, if you've shown your work at professional exhibitions, performances you have done, any type of showcases, press or publications, or presentations such as TED Talks, conference presentations, or even webinars like this one. When you put these into your application form, you want to make sure that they represent your work over the past 2 years, and you want it to exemplify what you feel is your highest quality of work as a professional artist. We do want to note that sometimes quantity does not exactly equal quality. So really choose the examples of your work as an artist that you feel most represents yours. I would recommend maybe one to two to three of each of these. So you want to have some variety in what you are putting out there as well in the application form. So moving past that, after you've listed the examples of your artistry, we're going to ask a question about your teaching experience. And in your teaching experience, it's going to ask you to give 3 examples from the past 2 years that indicate the ages of the students you work with, the venue and location, and venues can include libraries, recreation centers, schools, houses of worship, places that you have taught your work before, and the goals and outcomes of the program that really enhance what the students and the program were about and experiencing. And lastly, you want it to have the dates. And so the example that you see on the screen is a great tool, an example for you to look at in what this artist was able to showcase for their teaching experience. And remember that this is one example. We're going to be asking for 3 examples. And I'm going to recommend that you maybe think of 3 different experiences in your teaching that you can note that really give us a well-rounded understanding of your experience as a teaching artist. Moving on, we're going to ask you to define the interactions that you have with your students or with audience members in your programs. You will see an example of this on the screen. When you think about this, you want to tell the reviewers through your application how you use active engagement to involve students and audience members. We want to make sure that you are clear in how you connect them to your artistic vision and the process that you use to give them these activities to really explore the art form and the integration of the academic or social emotional connections through the program. And so you'll see on the screen here 3 examples of this, that this particular artist was able to really give us a good understanding and snapshot into how they use active engagement with their students and their audience members while they're teaching. And again, I'm gonna emphasize, give multiple ideas and experiences that kind of give us a well-rounded understanding of how you do these if you have various programs. Moving on, we're going to go to a bio. So on the screen, you're going to see an example of a biography. This is one of our artists here in Cleveland. What you'll see in this example is a clear understanding of their education background, their artistic background, any differences in the disciplines within the art form. You'll see that this particular artist is a writer, filmmaker, and thespian. Their current work that they're doing, if they're affiliated with any type of organization, and then any work from the past 2 years to emphasize. So you'll see this artist recently shot their short film and produced their short film entitled Beats. And this biography, I'm going to toggle over to where you will find the importance of this, this is a great tool for you to create that will be showcased directly on the site. And you'll see on my screen that there are examples of this, and we're going to go into this so you can see one a little bit more closely. So if you go to the different types of artists on the Ohio Arts Council website for this roster, you'll see the artist, you'll see a headshot, what type of artist they are, and their bio. If you click on one of the artist names, as an example, here's a closer look into this artist. You can see a very clear headshot, which we're going to ask you to upload. You can see where the artist is from, any outside resources to connect to the artist, such as website, contact information. And in this bio, this is really a marketing tool for outside venues to get an understanding of who you are as an artist. You want to also make sure that you read through this, and I would suggest having someone else read through this. I know as an artist myself, sometimes when writing about myself, I forget or I shy away from putting out my accomplishments. So you want to make sure maybe someone else reads this to give you input on some things that you could also add to showcase yourself as an artist and an educator. Also on this page, and the importance of having this bio, you will find the information about this specific artist, of the grade levels they work in, facilities, organizations they're involved in, and their availability, as well as some imagery of their work. So this bio is really important, as what you put in this application is going to be copy and pasted with maybe a few small edits right directly into this website. So we're going to go back over into our presentation. So that is your bio. So be really clear about what you put into it. Make sure that you showcase yourself in the best light possible. Next, we're going to look at a resume to make sure they're including what you see on the screen. And this gives a really clear and more robust understanding of you as an artist and an educator. And I'm going to show you an example of a teaching artist resume. So in this teaching artist resume, you will see we have named them teaching artist, and there's a clear example of their work. This particular artist is a cartoonist. At the top, you're going to see contact information for that artist. If we scroll down, there's a summary of the artist's work and some background information about them through this profile. On the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see their published comic works. As a professional artist, they have had their work showcased in these areas that you see on the screen, and you want to make sure you add that as well. We're then going to scroll down, And you want to make sure to include your employment history, where you have worked as an artist, whether that be in various types of venues. What you want to make sure to detail that, what the name of that work is, a small detail description of it, and when you worked there. Scrolling down, then we want to ask or see your teaching and presenting history, where you have put your work or showcased it as an educator, including the years and a small notation of what those were. Scrolling down a bit further, you're then going to see any type of exhibitions or presentations that you would like to notate. Before, when Jared read my bio, it says that I'm an Emmy-nominated artist, and I would most definitely put that here on my resume so others can see that. And lastly, this is something you can or you do not have to include on a reference or on your resume, is references for who the venues could reach out to that you have worked with in the past, and or the organizations or reviewers looking at your application. So that would be your resume. So we're going to go back to our presentation. And next, we're going to look at the lesson plan. So we're going to ask you to detail out a lesson plan for us. This can be something you have already done, or something you are currently doing, or even a lesson plan that you are preparing to present in the future. During your lesson plan, there is templates potentially available, but we're going to give you some tips of things to include in your lesson plan. You want to make sure there's a clear name, a description of what the program is, including the discipline or the artistic area that is connected to, a clear grade level that this program is created for, outcomes, indicators, and assessments, so the goals of the program, any type of classroom management or authentic behavior management, how you're going to include that in your art form, the details through the learning plan of what you're going to be doing with the students, and then the curricular connections, whether those be academic and or social emotional, you want to make sure you detail those out, and lastly, the resources. I'm going to show you an example of a lesson plan. So what you'll see on the screen in front of you is a template that we use. I asked my artists in Cleveland to use this, and it's just an example that you could use. It is not a requirement to use something that has this, but I wanted to make sure you guys could see one clearly. So at the top, you'll see kind of the logistical information, the name, who the teaching artist is, the art form, the grade levels. Next would be the program description, kind of a quick snapshot into the program of what students would be experiencing while connecting to this program. And as you'll notice in this particular lesson plan, everything is really clear for anyone to see what is being presented through the lesson plan. So next you would see outcomes, indicators, and assessments. What are the goals? How are you going to know that students were able to reach those goals? And by what means are you going to be assessing those goals? Next is the arts integration. So how are you going to connect your art form to either academic or social emotional learning? This is a great tool for classroom teachers to present in their own write-ups for help fund programs or to bring you into their classroom. This would be the classroom management. So how are you going to reach the different modalities for learning and ensure that you have 85 to 100% of engagement by connecting to differentiated learning for all of the students that you may face in your programs. Here's some positive reinforcement techniques. So how are you going to help manage behaviors, because we're working with youth, but in an authentic way that connects directly back to your art form. This is the meat of the program. So the learning plan, how are you going to connect or ask the venue to prepare students to work or be ready to work with the artist? How are you going to introduce your program? What are the main activities of the program? How are you going to reflect and give students time to talk about their experience in working with you as an artist? And you'll notate that in each of these, there is a clear time allotted. So as a reviewer of looking at these lesson plans, it's nice to see there's positive preparation and thought put into how long each activity will be. And lastly, what can the students and participants do once the teaching artist is no longer in the classroom? How can teachers or venues continue the learning beyond the arts integrated lesson so that students are continuing the engagement in the arts. Next, here's an example of what curricular connections could look like. This is a direct connection to the Ohio Department of Education. What I like about this particular lesson plan is that there are not only the listed numbers for each and the grade levels for each of the fine arts or non-art standards, but it actually copies and pastes directly from the site what the connection is. And this is also a great tool for teaching classroom teachers to showcase the direct connection to the academic learning for their students while you're there with them. And lastly, the resources. This also is a great way to positively prepare and showcase that you are proactively thinking about what you will need for that program. If these are given to the venues, it also can be a conversation starter for what the classroom or the venue might already have that you can utilize in your work with them. All right, so next we're gonna go back. So that is a quick tutorial on what a lesson plan could look like. Again, it's just an example. It is not the exact template that we would be asking for. You could take some creative freedom on that. But in doing the creation of this lesson plan or showcasing one for this application, you want to make sure that everything you see on the screen is included in your lesson plan. Then moving on, we're going to look at work samples. So we would like to see your work sample as a teacher or a teaching artist and educator. We want to make sure first that these are easily accessible. You have clear audio and visual in these, and you showcase a variety of samples. I know myself as a dance teaching artist, I might include maybe an example of me working through science and dance, and then another example of me working through math with maybe a different age range and movement. I'm going to show you just a quick snapshot example. This is a website of one of the artists who is currently on the roster, Hal Walker. And you'll clearly see that on the work samples of this artist, they give multiple styles in which we can connect and review their work. Here's a great idea stream connection to a radio and online radio show. There is a song that was created, and here's something that was done with students, another video, and you can see the artist hard at work. What I like about this idea stream one, I'm going to click on it, is it gives a clear snapshot into the artist working with these particular students. And as a reviewer, I could look through these and clearly see the active engagement that the artist is having with the students. And if I were to scroll down, I could also listen to the audio that has the artist being reviewed by Idea Stream, and it really gives the artist another chance to showcase their work as an educator. So that would be a great example of some work samples. You can see everything clearly, it's easily accessible, and there's clear audio visual with multiple samples to use. All right, next we're going to ask you for an instructional video, and this is a major portion of your application. I do want you to note that there is a webinar that you can access that has more details about how to create this instructional video, how to upload it, and what should be involved in this instructional video. And that you can find on the Ohio Arts Council's YouTube page. I'm going to show you a quick 30-second video. This is myself teaching at a program, and then we'll talk about it. What else? I need another one. What's something else we're afraid of? Wait, hold on guys, I can't hear.
I'm scared of coyotes because they'll eat you.
Nice job. Nice job. Can we try that much with music maybe?
Yeah.
All right, have a seat. Crisscross, outside, spoon, and bowl. Carlos, can you have a seat for me? Awesome job.
There has to be one more time.
All right, crisscross, outside, spoon, and bowl. Show me. Show me. Awesome. Okay.
No,
now.
sorry.
All right, so what you see in that video, you can clearly see the students, you can clearly see the teaching artist, you can clearly see any work or examples that the teaching artist had up on the board. And it showcases not only instruction, it showcases some classroom management that is happening and the culture that has been set through this particular video and program. But again, if you want more information, please check out Ohio Arts Council's YouTube page for that webinar on the details of creating this instructional video. All right, next we're going to look at letters of recommendation. For these letters, you want to have 3 letters of recommendation. I suggest you have multiple perspectives. So if you've worked with a variety of venues or you have connections with various members of the community, having multiple perspectives about your work in the samples that you provide will really enhance your application. When you speak to the individuals who you are asking for these letters of recommendation, you want to make sure that they give a really clear connection to how you've connected to their particular population or community, the importance of your work in that population or community, and how you affected them on a positive light working with the students or participants through your art form. And I suggest that you ask them to speak to those strengths. What you see on the screen is a past letter of recommendation that I used to get the National Teaching Artist Credential through Young Audiences. What you will notice is that this example, it's in a letter format. So something that you want to think about when asking or looking for these letters of recommendation is that you do want it to be in a letter format. If you can save that as a PDF and then upload that, that's the best model to use. Just a suggestion when asking or looking for these, that just a simple quote or an email would not be enough for this particular part of the application. You really want to have some detailed letters, whether it's on letterhead or not, but a detailed letter from that individual or all 3 individuals that you're asking for that you can upload to this particular application. And again, those I will show you at the end, but they can be directly uploaded onto the site where the application is found. We're almost there. So supplemental materials, this is the last place for you to really voice and showcase to the reviewers who you are as an artist and a teaching artist. Some of the things that you can upload are a teacher venue evaluation, other video samples through links, presentations that you have done, press reviews that you have been a part of, whether those are online articles or a photo or something from a print resource. Some things to think about for these supplemental materials are that you want to make sure there's a clear audio and visual. They're easily accessible. And again, you want to showcase skills that there's a variety of skills showcased, but they've also not been previously touched upon. I'm going to show you an example of a teacher or venue evaluation. So this is an evaluation from a program that I have done in the past. And what this does is you will see where the program was done, what organization it was done through, the grade levels of the participants I worked with. There are some questions that were asked of the teacher to answer. There are also some scales in which the teacher is asked to give feedback on how I connected to the students through connection to curricular or social emotional development, the high level of artistry, the program participant experience, effective direction and encouragement. And what you'll see through this is that there was a scale for the classroom teacher to give, and thankfully I got all extremely, so they were happy with what they received and their students received. Then there are some questions, some open-ended questions that they could provide about the engagement of their students and give more voice to what they saw. And also if there were any chances for them to voice any changes in students or surprises that they saw as a result of this program. As teaching artists, we know that we can make big changes and effects on the students and change the perspectives of how teachers and peers and the students see themselves. And this is a great way to showcase that from the voice of the teaching artist, or from the voice of the classroom teacher for the teaching artist. So this is just one example of a way that you could have some supplemental material for your application. And again, that is one way in which you can showcase this. There are other ways in which you want to add, that you would like to add to your application. You're welcome to do so. And lastly, some finishing touches. So review, review, review. I think the Word document and taking everything over to that Word document, look that over. I would suggest finding at least 2 different perspectives to review your work. Maybe someone you've worked with that is an artist, maybe an educator. If there's any literary artists or grant writers that you can connect to that might give a review over your work and make sure that it sounds of high quality and also gives a really great perspective inside your work. And lastly, save and save and save before you submit. So I'm going to lastly go back to our application, and in this application you will see everything that we have touched upon, how you could insert from that Word document right into these text boxes. Then at the very end, after you have uploaded all files and made sure that all of the questions are finalized, it's going to ask you to check this box for your electronic signature. If you are not quite ready to submit your work, here's something you can do. You can click on Save and Continue Later, and this is going to take you to another page, and it's going to ask you for your email address. So I'm going to put in my email address. I'm going to say Send Link. It should show you a success. Once I send link, I will go to my email inbox. I will look for that in my inbox. If you do not see it in your inbox, I suggest going to your junk email. Mine, as you see, did go to my junk email, so I suggest checking both inboxes and junk inboxes. I click on that, and you will see that the link, so it says, please use this unique link to return to the form from any computer, and it'll take me right back to the application process. And here, if I would have filled this out, you would see it again. So let's go back to our final finishing touches. So again, just make sure to really double check, recheck, and have someone else check over your work. Make sure all of those boxes are filled in and you feel that you are confident in everything that you have put into the application before you do your final submission. And then your submission will go to the reviewers and you will hear back about your application form. That information can be found on the main site about the timeline of when this round of applications will be asked and when the reviewers will look at them and when you will receive feedback from your submitted application. So that was a really quick tutorial about how to apply to the Ohio Teaching Artist roster. We want to thank you for listening in to this today, and we are here. Any of the 5 organizations and myself are here for any further questions. You can contact Jared Small at Ohio Arts Council for these questions, and he can field them out to any of us for specifics. And I would like to say good luck on your application, and I hope to see you on the Ohio Teaching Artist roster. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time, and have a great rest of your day.